I was rewatching MatPat's FNAF theories in wake of the FNAF resurgence that was happening on Twitter, and I think I finally realized something I've known in my heart for a while. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location ruined the Five Nights at Freddy's series from a lore standpoint. At least for me.
Before you all go dislike the video, let me explain. As I said earlier, I realized this after watching some of MatPat's old FNAF theories. Specifically, Five Nights at Freddy's 4, What We Missed, which came after he did the livestream with all the other FNAF tubers.
Just to get you caught up, this video comes to the conclusion that the games we've been playing through are all just dreams from the mind of the crying child on his deathbed. It also establishes that the death minigames from FNAF 2 and the minigames from FNAF 3 and 4 are real-world events, and not in the mind of the child. The murders happened, the crying child was bit, the purple guy is trapped in Springtrap, all of that. I feel the dream theory was Scott's intended interpretation of FNAF 4. Why do I think this?
Well, during that livestream, Scott started talking to MatPat and the other FNAF tubers through his website. The three messages were as follows. 4 games, 1 story. What is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the eyes of a child. And the one that confuses most people, in the FNAF 4 minigame, why was the tiny toy Chica missing her beak? Now the first one is easily explained as Scott telling us that the 4 games tell one complete story. The story of the crying child. The other 2? Well, let's break it down.
What is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. In one of the FNAF 4 minigames, the crying child sees Purple Guy help an employee into a mascot costume of Golden Bonnie, which is what inspired the crying child to think of Springtrap, an employee trapped in a mascot suit. The other quote, in the FNAF 4 minigame, why would the tiny toy Chica be missing her beak, is much easier to explain. In the FNAF 4 Night 4 minigame, we can see that there is a child with toys that look like the FNAF 2 animatronics, and as we can see, the child broke the toy's beak off. It's an insignificant detail, but Scott put it in there for some reason. Some might dismiss it as a random Easter egg, but Scott specifically said that he didn't fill the game with random Easter eggs. This is clearly a reference to FNAF 2, where after Toy Chica comes off stage, she loses her beak. Another piece of evidence showing it was an intentional connection, along with the fact that in the game, they're called toy animatronics, and the real-world objects they're based off of are toys. The crying child also has a toy phone and a fan, inspiring the offices.
Now, I'm not just going to tell you why I think FNAF 4 establishes that the dream theory is canon. You clicked on the video to see why I hate sister locations specifically. I think it ruins the franchise because it completely destroys the dream theory, which is what Scott was building up to for the first 4 games. Let me explain that too.
Well, on one of the nights, you could enter an office to play a night of classic FNAF against Ennard. Why is this important? Well, there's an Easter egg in there. If you punched 1983 into a keypad, monitors showed the crying child's bedroom, as well as during the Funtime Freddy night where you reboot systems, you can see the layout of the FNAF 4 house. None of this by itself would be a problem if the book stayed separate from the game series, but nope. Sister Location establishes a connection between the games and the FNAF novels, and guess what? The FNAF novels establish that Sister Location is under Henry's house and not Afton, meaning the crying child isn't even in Afton. The Easter egg is canon, and the cutscenes in this game clearly show that the nights we're playing through are real and actually happening, since they're affected by in-game events, and as we all know, the minigames and cutscenes are real, establishing that this game isn't just another dream. Now, establishing the crying child not to be in Afton doesn't break the theory, but the Easter eggs show that the FNAF 4 house that was supposedly a dream is actually real despite the nonsensical house design. Like seriously, what kind of child's room has 2 doors? And what kind of hallway has 4 random rooms on its side? Sister Location also represents a turning point for the series. It turns from a story told through extremely vague lore hints to games that purposely focus on lore, especially Pizzeria Simulator. Sister Location and the games that come after establish character names, something we never had for anything other than animatronics. Purple Guy becomes William Afton, the dead children get named in FNAF 6, and it completely destroys the dream theory, because clear real-world events mention events that happen in FNAF 1, 2, and 3's main gameplay. It also kind of serves as a reboot to the story, which I'm not the biggest fan of.
The new story isn't awful by any means, of course. I just think the dream theory makes more sense, since it explains the game's more magical properties. Like Shadow Freddy and Urwak Fisaf Shadow Bonnie. The dream theory also suggests that the crying child would go on to possess Golden Freddy, which is a really good ending for his arc, becoming that of which he fears most. The animatronic that caused his death in the first place.
But Sister Location ruins this and establishes that the crying child survives and goes on to become a physically purple guy, not even related to the original purple guy. Or maybe he doesn't, and maybe that is just the purple guy's son and not the crying child. And maybe the crying child is in Afton, but at the same time he's not. It just makes no sense. And they made the crying child completely irrelevant despite the fact that he had clear story significance in FNAF 4. Now it's about some guy named Michael who gets scooped by Baby and taken over by Ennard, but somehow manages to survive after Ennard leaves his body due to something called Remnant, which is a completely different can of worms that I do not want to get into. And it really makes no goddamn sense at all. This is where the story truly got complicated. It was a little messy before, but now it's almost incomprehensible and a little sci-fi.
The thing that makes no sense to me due to this change is, in the FNAF 4 minigame, why was the tiny toy Chica missing her beak? If it's not to show that at least FNAF 2 was a dream, then what's the point? Why was she missing her beak? Why was that such an important tidbit of information? You specifically had to call it out in the live stream, huh? It makes no sense to mention such a specific detail, then retcon the importance of it. I just don't understand. The Dream Theory was so perfect, but no, the fan base had to complain about it, so you have to retcon it out of existence. It just doesn't make any sense.
But I digress. Sister Location represents a turn to the series that goes into a different direction I'm just not a big fan of, which is obvious because the games from that point just feel different. I don't really know how to describe it. They just feel different. Ultimate Custom Night is the most normal feeling game since then, but it still feels weird, and I can't exactly pinpoint why.
But Koopa Kaper, isn't one of your favorite games in the entire series FNAF Help Wanted? That came out after Sister Location. Yeah, it is. I think that Help Wanted is the 4th best FNAF game behind 1, 2, and 4. But it doesn't really count because it's basically just VR minigames of the original 4 games for the most part. But that's not the point of this video. The point is, the new stuff added after Sister Location ruins the Dream Theory, which from a storytelling standpoint is a little bit disappointing, but it makes the most logical sense. It provides a satisfying conclusion, at least to me. But Koopa Kaper, isn't your second favorite theory for the series the one where Michael, Afton, and the Crying Child are separate characters? Yes, that is true. I really like that theory.
Where the Crying Child dies after getting bitten by Fredbear in 1983, and Michael goes to each FNAF location trying to undo his father's work. Michael goes to find his father inside Springtrap. When Michael gets the location we play in during FNAF 1, his dead brother, now Golden Freddy, sends him the message, "It's me," over and over, which is why it appears so much in that game. Despite this location being the basis for most of this theory, the books deconfirm it. The book established that this location actually takes place under Henry's house, not Afton's, meaning that the previous theory can't possibly be true since Michael and the Crying Child aren't related to Springtrap.
Or maybe Michael is? I don't really know, but it wouldn't make sense since Michael would have no idea who the Crying Child is. Also, apparently a girl named Cassidy is Golden Freddy, but also the Crying Child at the same time? But Koopa Kaper, wasn't FNAF 3 supposed to be the end to the series and a more satisfying conclusion to the series than FNAF 4? Yes, that's true. FNAF 3 was supposed to be the end to the series, but I don't think the conclusion there is any more satisfying than FNAF 4's. Sure, the purple guy is finally brought to justice, but he isn't at the same time? I mean, we see him alive in that game. He's Springtrap. He's still walking around trying to kill people, so he's not actually dead. So it's not even really a conclusion. I think the Dream Theory makes more sense. But Koopa Kaper, isn't the ending to Pizzeria Simulator a more satisfying ending to the series than the Dream Theory? You mean how Baby, Ennard, who is now Molten Freddy, Michael, the puppet, and Springtrap all burned to death in the pizzeria at the hands of Henry? Yeah, that is a very satisfying conclusion, and it actually is my favorite moment in the entire series, where Henry's like, "Connection terminated. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I have to cut you off here. But I'm afraid you weren't called here by the being you thought you were. You were indeed called here." You know, that part. I love it. Yeah, that is a pretty amazing conclusion, with an epic epilogue, too. Ultimate Custom Night. The way it's Purple Guy's personal hell and you get to live out its worst nightmares, it's actually kind of beautiful in a way. And that would be a satisfying ending, if not for the fact that
William Afton somehow survives and lives on through the code in Help Wanted. At least that's what I think happens. This completely ruins the point of Pizzeria Simulator and Ultimate Custom Night. If you're gonna end a series with killing all the main characters off, and one of them going to hell, keep them dead. Don't magically revive them through a haunted VR game. Don't get me wrong, I love Help Wanted, but it just ruins the ending set up in the previous games. Like, how are you going to revive a child murderous maniac instead of the objectively best character in the game, voiced by someone perfect for the role, Kellen Goff? Well, he would be perfect if he wasn't in the JoJo dub. Fuck JoJo. Wow, I keep going way off topic on the script. Back to it. I know Ultimate Custom Night was supposed to be the last game, but so is FNAF 4, and Pizzeria Simulator. So, like, I think he just says that so that we won't expect more games if he's unsure about making more. But, again, that's not the topic of the video. So yeah, that's why I don't like Sister Location. Like, at all. I don't even like the characters. Except for Funtime Freddy. Kellen Goff, you are a blessing upon this world. The gameplay is barely even gameplay, you just click where the game tells you to. And then for some reason on Night 4 it becomes an impossible minigame that is literally impossible to beat. But Koopa Kaper! No, shut up. This isn't the last you'll see of me. Well, that was weird. But not as weird as Sister Location. Ayo!